Greetings, fellow moviegoers, and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pet gorilla, George. Let's talk about the novels simply known as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Written by English novelist J.R.R. Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings trilogy tells the story of a mighty power of evil in the form of a golden ring that threatens to corrupt a hobbit named Frodo Baggins, having previously corrupted his uncle Bilbo. It's up to Frodo and a bunch of others to destroy the ring and bring order to the realm of Middle-earth. The books were a huge success, spawning a massive form of media, including the Bakshi and Rankin Bass animated feature films released in the late 70s and early 80s. However, the series really peaked in popularity when well-known New Zealand filmmaker Peter Jackson decided to go and adapt the books into a blockbuster franchise for Warner Bros. New Line Cinema, after having impressed several with the 1994 movie Heavenly Creatures, which scored him an Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay in 1995, though losing to Usual Suspects. Upon bringing the trilogy to the big screen, the series in total made tons of money at the box office, scored great reviews from critics, and won 17 total Academy Awards. Wow, that is a lot. But the series has to start somewhere. So let's see how this fantastic trilogy of movies started off. Without further delay, this is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. After the defeat of the great Dark Lord Sauron in battle, the Ring of the Warlord is carried down through several beings before being passed down to a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins of the Shire, played by the late Ian Holm. On his 111th birthday, Bilbo leaves for the village of elves, leaving the responsibility of the ring to the great wizard Gandalf, played by Sir Ian McKellen, and his nephew Frodo, played by Elijah Wood. Gandalf, sensing the danger of the ring's power, sends Frodo and another hobbit, Samwise Gamgee, played by Sean Astin, to go to the place where the ring was formed, Mount Doom, to cast it into the fire and destroy it. Eventually getting attacked by several creatures, including the Black Riders, they get to Gandalf safely, getting together a group of individuals, including Frodo, Samwise, Gandalf, the Ranger Aragorn, played by Viggo Mortensen, the Prince Boromir, played by the guy who dies a lot, Sean Bean, the Elf Archer Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom, the Dwarf Gimli, played by John Rhys-Davies, and two other hobbits named Merry and Pippin, played by Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, to go to Mount Doom and destroy the ring, as well as stop many threats on the way, including the White Wizard Saruman, played by the late Sir Christopher Lee, the violent race of orcs, a troll, a dragon creature called the Balrog, the vicious Uruk-hai, and the spirit of the Dark Lord Sauron himself, in the beginning of such an epic journey. Now, I'm just paraphrasing here because essentially I'd be recapping the entire movie from start to finish, and I would recap the extended editions, in my opinion, the superior yet longer versions of the movie. But with that aside, the story is breathtaking and epic, and it moves at a constant pace for a movie that is a grand total of 3 hours and 48 minutes, one of the longest films I've seen. What else makes the movie so great, though? After all, with this much plot, there's gotta be a lot of stuff to cover. Well, you'd be right, so let's get through it as simple as possible. Let's start with the characters. Frodo Baggins is the hero of the story, and I have to admit, for all the bad movies Elijah Wood was in during the 1990s decade, this was one hell of a way to start a career because Wood perfectly makes Frodo the great character we know him for, thanks to the personality, actions, and even appearance. I can't think of any other person to play Frodo other than Wood. Samwise Gamgee was also fantastic. Sean Astin established himself in films like The Goonies and him being the son of the original Gomez Adams John Astin. But just like Wood with Frodo, Astin captures Samwise perfectly, with the way he acts, talks, and his appearance. As for Merry and Pippin, Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd play the likable doofuses, we all know and love, and we just give them so much credit for it. Gandalf, like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Dumbledore, is the mentor character, and Sir Ian McKellen brings in the best performance he has done and probably ever will do in his life. Now we move on to the members of the Fellowship. Aragorn was always my favorite character due to the authority he commands and his voice. Sure, Viggo Mortensen may be American, but he still lives and breathes that Scottish accent. Boromir, despite being a bit foolish and really quite selfish, was a great character. And when you get to know a little more about his past in the sequels, it's understandable. And I get emotional every time I watch him die. Legolas is here, and he's honestly a great character, due to his look and weapon. And Gimli was cool, even though he's also a bit of a doofus. I'm seeing a pattern here with all the red-haired characters. Maybe that's just me. As for Bilbo, well, he's here to motivate Frodo to bring the ring to destruction, and it's sad to see such a tortured soul in a movie like this. As for the elves, their main driving force to the plot is to motivate, and they do a great job. Specifically, Arwen, Elrond, and Galadriel, played by Liv Tyler, Hugo Weaving, and Cate Blanchett. Now for the villains. The army is created like the orcs, the Black Riders, and the Uruk-hai are just minions, but damn are they scary. The monsters in this movie that are giant, like that squid thing that you see, the cave troll, and the Balrog are great for VFX. And the main villains, Saruman and Sauron's spirit, are mind-blowingly evil, and you just want to see them get defeated. Okay, enough character talk. It's time for the visual effects. The movie is proud to use costumes and practical effects as well as CGI, and it really works. If you want to know more about how these effects came to life, I recommend buying the extended edition DVDs and see the amazing bonus features to come with it, or visit the website of the people who created the effects, the Weta Group in New Zealand. The music was done by Howard Shore, who gave an excellent score to an excellent movie, capturing the sense of adventure and the scale of the journey. As for the action scenes, from the beginning action scene to the river chase to the Mines of Moria sequence to the final battle on the shore with Lurtz the Uruk-hai, these action scenes are awesome and worth seeing for the scale and cinematography, both of which are perfect in my book. So, what do I think of this movie? Well, as you can see, I absolutely love it. With an amazing story, amazing characters, amazing effects, an amazing soundtrack, and amazing action sequences, this is just an amazing movie, and a perfect start to a trilogy like this, which is why it gets a 10 out of 10. A perfect introduction to a perfect trilogy. Well, that's it for this review. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments on the movie below, and tune in next week when I take a look at one of the most epic movies in the MCU. With that said, my name is Mr. CCS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap. See you next week.